It's time for my favorite video slash segment of each week here. In this episode, I'll be chatting through 5 must-buy trade targets at the running back position. This time around for Week 7 fantasy football, we're motoring our way through things here for this NFL season, and we've got to make some more continual roster moves here to improve those fantasy teams and get you ready for that championship push. So, as always, if you're new around here, my name's Gavin. You're watching the Sizzle Fantasy Sports YouTube channel, where we're here to help you guys win your fantasy football leagues this season. If you're new, make sure to drop on down, smash that subscribe button, and turn the bell on so you're never late for a new piece of content. We've already got our Week 7 fantasy football advice playlist live on the channel right now. And as I said, let me know any of your questions, comments, concerns about your teams, leagues, trade scenarios, start-sit questions, all that stuff. Welcome in every video in the comment section below, and I do my best to get back to as many of you guys as possible each day and each week that I possibly can. So with all that being said, sit back, relax, you guys, and let's dive in. All right, we're going to be starting off today's episode with a fairly affordable buy here in Travis Etienne of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, the reason that we're talking through Etienne, despite the fact that he has yet to score a touchdown this season or really have an elite production game here for 2022 fantasy football, well, really this is his rookie season, if you will, because he didn't even play in 2021 due to a Liz Frank injury, but he's had some really optimistic snap count percentages the last 3 weeks that the more I see it, the more I'm starting to believe that there could be a little bit more of an infusion of Travis Etienne usage into this Jags offense. Now, I'm not ready to classify Etienne as a workhorse because to this point, he plain and simple has not been that, nor has he been the elite running back that we expected him to be out of the backfield, catching a wide array of passes and being the super high-end PPR play during draft season. But we are seeing signs that look very, very promising for what he can be from this point moving forward to the end of this year. Now, as I said, not a workhorse, hasn't scored a touchdown yet this year, but he's been a very integral part of this offense the last few weeks here, averaging 7.1 yards per carry in Week 5 and 8.6 yards per carry in Week 6. So, extremely efficient play. If the coaching staff is looking at the analytics here and really breaking down what's working for this team, they would see that Travis Etienne has been the more productive back as compared to James Robinson and the more effective player with the ball in his hands. Now, I actually saw the stat. I believe it's the Jags are 0-3 to, kind of be the counter argument and just acknowledge this here. The Jags, I believe, are 0-3 when Etienne outsnaps James Robinson. However, the productivity has been more so in favor of what Etienne has done here when you take out and exclude touchdown production, which, yes, scores points at the end of the day. But even if Etienne gets them in scoring range and James Robinson vultures some TDs away, Etienne is a talented playmaker that should have the opportunity to make things work for this offense. So, additionally, he's had 3 or more opportunities in the passing game in 4 out of 6 games this season, so a 66% conversion rate there. And as I said, the James Robinson, Travis Etienne backfield dynamic is a little bit cloudy right now. There isn't one clear, decisive winner, but Etienne's been the favorite back in 3 consecutive games here in terms of overall playing time, and he's been the guy that, as I said, has been extremely more productive in an efficiency basis here when compared to his backfield competitor, James Robinson. So, like I said, the touchdown production has been scarce here. You're seeing a guy that's probably going to have those opportunities stolen away a large variety of times from J-Rob, but his efficiency is off the charts here. I saw him get tackled for loss multiple times for at the line of scrimmage, and he continues to be efficient and put up great numbers. He's explosive. He rips big carries off, and I'm very, very, optimistic with what I've seen to this point. And going forward here, I think this could be a solid running back 2-level play in PPR formats moving forward. Kenneth Walker here. We talked through him last week, and I honestly didn't plan to include him in today's episode, but I think this is such an important buy on a multitude of levels, beginning with the fact that preliminarily here, I don't even know if that's a word or if I just made that up, preliminarily, I've seen in my comment section of videos from Monday's episode multiple situations of extremely cheap buy opportunities for Walker. And I sat back and kind of thought to myself, in the standard, not like by scoring definitions, but just your average, let's call that an average fantasy football league here, what are players thinking when they look at Kenneth Walker? They're seeing an unproven rookie asset that doesn't have a body of work in terms of starting games in the NFL outside of Week 6 that they don't necessarily trust for long-term production. So with the exception of your elite fantasy football leagues, where everyone is extremely on top of their game here, and you've got guys that study the draft, they study the draft capital, they look very closely at talent of players, their abilities to make key differences in matchups and whatnot, I don't think Ken Walker's trade price is all that high right now. And again, that's been reflected in some queries that we've had across the Discord server, which of course you can join in the description of today's episode, and in comment sections throughout the first 24 hours since posting our waiver wire content and other information, lessons learned for this week. So Walker, go buy him. This is not a fluky situation where you're looking at a 1 week wonder that comes out here and doesn't continue to put up points the rest of the year. They absolutely slapped the Arizona Cardinals this week and dominated them for 4 quarters. The box score and the overall, ending results, I think it was 19-9, doesn't indicate just domination of that team, but they had a punt blocked, returned for a touchdown by the Cardinals, and outside of that, it was all Seahawks defense, running the football, controlling the pace of this game. And that's great news for Kenneth Walker. This team has been so much more fantasy friendly than I ever could have anticipated coming into this year. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, while they had down weeks this week, it was Ken Walker putting up points. Geno Smith is delivering for this team and providing opportunities for others to find success here. So 21 carries, 96 yards, 92% of the opportunity share out of the backfield for this team, 4.61 yards per carry. He's not on a per touch basis. Like if you look at every single split that he has in a given week, how many yards he's gaining positively, negatively, and everything in between here, each touch he gets, you're going to see a lot of 1 yard carries, a lot of -1 yard carries, 3 yard carries, and then he'll rip off a 30-plus yard touch. He's a one-cut running back that specializes in the home run play, and he got one of those this week. He also scored a touchdown. Fantastic stuff here for a 4.38 40-yard dash runner in the 98th percentile of all running backs, so basically putting him in elite categories. I love everything I see here. He is the makeup of a fantasy football league winner. The fact that he was rostered in just 44% of leagues a week ago is mind-boggling to me. This guy makes a lot of differences here and has saved a lot of my fantasy teams as things were starting to go south for a lot of my running back groups. He comes in, plugs a lot of those holes, and saves a lot of sinking ships. So save your ship here if you're sinking, if you're going down. You don't have to be the loyal captain here that goes on down with the crew. Go get yourself some Kenneth Walker and some of these rookie running backs that make such critical and pivotal differences to a lot of the outcomes of leagues this season. Before we dive into Darrell Henderson here and what might be somewhat of a highly debated topic here for this week's games, we'll talk about the situations where it's appropriate to buy a Darrell Henderson for this week. But I want to talk to you guys about the sponsor of today's video. Today's episode is brought to you guys by Underdog Fantasy. When you use code SFS and deposit $10 or more, you're going to get double your money on Underdog's platform to play with. So you're going to get, if you put $10 down, you get $20 to play with. Prop bets, over or under games, super fun stuff to add a little bit more, entertainment to your Sunday, Thursday, Monday night slates, all other sports as well. The NBA kicks off today, literally today. This episode's coming out on Tuesday. We've got Warriors-Lakers tonight. If you like basketball and hoops, check out Underdog. They've got all kinds of sports on there. It is the app for you to have more fun this season. And with that, you're going to get access to myself as your personal fantasy consultant this season, via our community Discord server. You're going to get access to my DMs when you sign up using code SFS, as well as my website, sizzlefantasy.com, with in-season weekly positional rankings to help you set your lineups, as well as bi-weekly rest of season rankings, which come out this week on odd weeks here. It is week 7, again, an odd week, so you're going to get access to those updated rankings by the end of this week. So check that stuff out. Again, Underdog Fantasy and code SFS get you access to double your money to play with on Underdog's awesome prop games and in-season draft events as well. They actually just did a redraft season, so if your fantasy team sucked this year, you could go on Underdog and draft new teams for week 6 through 17. So much fun stuff here. And again, all SFS content. You get the SFS All Access Pass, if you will, here until this season's Super Bowl when you sign up and use $10 or more. So Darrell Henderson here, back into today's episode. I appreciate you guys sticking with me to this point in the episode. Remember, your trade questions are always welcome in the comment section below. This is not a league-winning acquisition. I'm going to start off by saying that. But as I said with Kenneth Walker, and to a much smaller extent, this player is not only someone that can plug the holes and stop the sinking ship, but this can just be a saving option at a very discounted price. Now, his price has risen here in the last week or so since the Cam Akers news came out. We'll talk about that in just a second here. But what it is a player who still doesn't command much weight in the trade market. And the reason for that is this Rams offensive line and offense as a whole is in complete turmoil right now. This is a group that, between Noteboom tearing his Achilles, going down at left tackle, and just overall offensive line dysfunction, has one legitimate starter at right tackle. and everything else has been very porous. But if you trust in this offense, in the fact that they can just be average, maybe even slightly below average, but lean on Darrell Henderson to be their clear and concise lead running back, you can get low-end RB2 production out of him. And for a lot of teams, if you look at the overall landscape of the running back position right now, you'd be hard-pressed to find 24 running backs that really, truly deserve to be in lineups every week. And that's where Darrell Henderson can come in and make his difference here. Now, there is the risk, and there is a chance that Cam Akers returns to this team, despite the reports of it being unlikely that he ever comes back and puts on the blue and gold uniforms here, or the royal and whatever yellow designation they get. I'm not a Rams fan, so I just improvised and made that up off the top of my head. But if you can at least trust that he'll come in here and put up somewhat close to RB2 level numbers each week, he can fill a roster spot, in a lineup spot, in a starting group at a desperate position of need for a lot of teams. Again, for honestly a flex wide receiver, or potentially a lower end wide receiver too. It shouldn't cost you that much to get a player who doesn't have a super solidified situation right now with such a poor offensive line, the struggles the Rams have had offensively. There is room for opportunity here. And like I said, Akers could come back. I think it's unlikely, especially considering the reports here. Maybe if you had yourself a nice Rams backfield stack of Henderson and Akers, which looked disastrous, now you might be able to land 2 starting running backs on 2 different teams. So for Henderson here, again, it's a cheap buy. Only had 43 yards and 12 carries and a touchdown this week. 3 targets in the passing game as well. That's the other key thing for me. With Akers on the field, he was getting the rushing work, but no real pass involvement, and Henderson was coming in for those opportunities. Now Henderson can soak it all up and be, maybe a guy around an 80% opportunity share in this offense, with wide receivers and such getting touches in the rushing game as well. All things to talk about and think through here. Moving into Jonathan Taylor. Now a much more big ticket buy opportunity we're putting later in today's episode as a change here. Usually I put these guys closer to the front, but I did want to get you guys some of those cheaper opportunities here in pressing matters with Week 7 buys, including teams like the Eagles and the Rams, of course. So you're not going to be able to get Darrell Henderson for this week's games, but what you can do is go out there and use him moving forward, and it is possible that during that bye week, Akers gets dealt. So for JT here, our big ticket buy of the week. We've got another semi-big ticket item coming up here, but JT, the buy window is still wide open. This is a Colts team that I've actually grown my confidence level in Jonathan Taylor's stock the last couple of games here. Watching Deion Jackson absolutely ball out, I think that's positive signs of what's to come for Jonathan Taylor. If Deion Jackson can walk out here and dominate a game the way that he dominated the Jags this past week, I have full confidence that Jonathan Taylor can do the same. So, of course, a pure workhorse running back, not the most prolific pass catcher in the world, just not overall his skill set and the way they use him on a consistent basis, but there is opportunity to be had here with JT and work to be done in terms of fantasy lineup utility. So, overall, you know the deal here. I don't have to sell you on Jonathan Taylor. Like I said, the Deion Jackson thing for me is an optimistic mover of the needle in the right direction in terms of how that makes me feel this Colts offensive situation here. You had Pittman balling out, Pierce making big plays, Matty Ice throwing 58 times, Deion Jackson getting the job done. Everyone all over the field. Jelani Woods, a rookie tight end we loved in Dynasty this year, coming out and making a touchdown reception. So this Colts offense, what was the worst offense in the league not very long ago, now looks to hopefully have found some momentum and a rhythm here. And for Jonathan Taylor, being out the last 2 games, having lackluster production since week 1, excluding week 1 since has had lackluster performances. Go buy him. The hot topic right now is Breece Hall, which we were all over in the trade market here. Now go get the guy that's kind of the older carbon copy here in Jonathan Taylor. 2 guys that are pure workhorse running backs and just dominant players. DeAndre Swift here, our last big ticket buy of the week here. Not at the same extent as Jonathan Taylor, but I've been very high on DeAndre Swift since the jump so far this season. We haven't seen him on the field since week 6. We had since week 3. We're coming off of week 6 here. Since week 3, we've not seen DeAndre Swift. We had 5.5 fantasy points. And the last time we saw the Lions on the football field, it was in week 5 in a blowout loss on the road to New England here. So, fun fact, Jared Goff has never had a win on the road in his career with the Detroit Lions. However, they also have themselves a tough matchup coming up here in week 7. And I think that the culmination of all that stuff mashed together is the opportunity you're looking for to buy DeAndre Swift. You're getting the buy low coming off of the last time we saw him having poor production. You're seeing the Lions the last time they came out here, despite being the number one scoring offense in the league pre-week 5, weeks 1 through 4, a month-long sample size. They were phenomenal here. They got wiped off the face of the earth on the road by a Bill Belichick defense. So you've got the negative, recency bias of DeAndre Swift, the negative recency bias of the Lions getting, just smoked in that game, and the fact that he's coming off of a bye week here. You went 3 to 4 long stretches of games here. It's been a month, just about, since we've seen anything from Swift in our lineups. Fantasy owners are fed up. Fantasy football owners are impatient. They want the hot thing now. They want the productivity in their lineup today. And unless you're, a patient soul that wants to sit back here and hold on to Swift like I've done, I guess in a disciplined manner, if you will, the chances are that you can go out and buy him for a cheaper price. I truly believe that Swift is a top 5 fantasy running back when he's healthy on the field in PPR formats. And I think that's just around the corner here. Now, this buy window could stay open a week longer if Detroit goes at Dallas and struggles. I don't really think this will be a super bad game script for this team, though. I think Dak's got to shake off some dust and some rust here, and it might be kind of a low-scoring contest. So I'm still, the door is open here for me with DeAndre Swift and what that means for his value as opposed to week 7, or as it relates rather to week 7 and beyond. From a pass catching standpoint, explosiveness, his efficiency the first 2 weeks when healthy, it was all fantastic. And he got 3 weeks off here and should be 100% ready and available to go here for this game. So super excited about this. To recap, Travis Etienne, Ken Walker, Darrell Henderson, JT, and DeAndre Swift for week 7 by running backs. If you enjoyed, smash the like button on today's episode. Check out our week 7 fantasy football playlist on the Sizzle Fantasy Sports YouTube channel. Also, remember, code SFS on Underdog Fantasy gets you double your money and everything on our website for free, including my weekly positional rankings and bi-weekly rest of season rankings, totally 100% free, as well as access to my DMs on our Discord server to ask me all of your questions 24/7. I'm answering questions at lunchtime. I'm answering questions before I go to bed. I'm waking up at 3 in the morning and answering more random questions, or maybe I haven't went to bed yet, depending on the day. So check that stuff out, you guys, and I'll see you there. Peace out.